This is it. Today is the day. After 11 months of prep, on May 2nd, 2026, at the exact time that this video has gone live, I step on stage for the first show of my natural bodybuilding competition prep season. In fact, at the exact moment of this video going online, I'm probably standing on stage battling it out as we speak. As of recording this, however, I'm still 4 weeks out, and I'm in the process of losing the last pound or two before being 100% stage ready. I'm recording this video ahead of time because I wanted to share with you what I think are some of the most important things that I've learned across the duration of this very long prep. A prep that will be 1 year in length total by the time all is said and done. Regardless of the outcome of today's competition, or the ones that come thereafter, I consider this prep of the 5 preps that I've done to be the most important in terms of the big principles and stark realizations that I've learned along the way. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you what I think are the 2 most important principles or realizations that I've learned with you. And just a heads up, they probably aren't what you might expect or guess I'm about to say. Before I start sharing, I want to preface by saying that I am still in the process of learning and consider myself to definitely be a work in progress. I've honestly been thinking about making this video for a long time now, and am really excited to share it with you. If you find it to be helpful or interesting, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Okay, let's get into it. I've always felt a sense of immense pride in the natural bodybuilding endeavors that I've undertaken over the years. Right from the very first time I ever lifted weights in an attempt to begin building muscle at age 12, all throughout the 2 decades that followed thereafter, where I continued to aim to develop my physique, prep for competitions, and actually get on stage and do the competitions themselves. I've taken pride in all of that being a kind of strenuous, ultra challenging, yet noble solo venture. I've thought of it as this big part of my life that I can take full credit for having done all by myself, with no one else or anything else doing much to help me throughout the process. I've taken pride in having done it all alone, all my way. One of the most profound realizations that I've made throughout this natural bodybuilding competition prep in particular is just how detrimental that way of thinking has actually been on me and my natural bodybuilding journey before this point. Shoot. And just how much of a detriment it's been outside of fitness and lifting weights in natural bodybuilding. What I've learned in this prep and what I'm continuing to learn is just how much this whole natural bodybuilding thing is not a solo endeavor. To give you a deeper understanding of what I mean, this prep would just not have been possible without a few people in my life. And I don't mean that as a figurative, woo-woo, or fluffy kind of a way. You know, as something that people say that just sounds kind of nice. I mean it literally. Not only would I not have been able to get through my prep and truly to thrive in it without the help of these people, but from a logistical standpoint, I literally would not be on the stage today without their help. In the context of this prep, it's been hard. As any natural bodybuilding competitor knows, every prep poses its challenges. Everything from managing hunger, hard training, mood, energy levels, and balancing all of that with the other logistics of life, like work, family life, money, and so on. And then there are other potential challenges that can reveal themselves on an even deeper level. At least that's what I've experienced. Like juggling how you fit your identity and self-value around your prep and your natural bodybuilding, and perhaps unveiling a deeper understanding the things in life that are truly worth prioritizing and the things that really aren't. This is my 5th prep, And over the course of each of them, I've learned a ton, especially about the more logistical elements of balancing things like hunger and training hard in an underfed state. But there are other deeper challenges that have revealed themselves in this prep in particular for me that have been a little bit more complicated to wrestle with. I've had a lot of help wrestling with these challenges from two people in particular. I'm talking about my mom and my prep coach, Jeff Alberts. Starting with my mom. Even just a few years ago, I would have been pretty reluctant about mentioning the help and support that I've received from her. I think it's one of those things where, as a 32-year-old guy who's 1 week out from being a 33-year-old, where he might feel a hit to the ego in mentioning that he receives the help and support from his mother. But I've got to tell you now, I've received so much help from my mom. Logistically, mentally, emotionally, she's been a major part of me being able to progress throughout the prep. And I can say now, without shame, that she has played a huge part in me being able to get on the stage today. And I mean all of that completely literally. She's been there for me at my best, sure. But she's always been there for me at my worst too. And just from being there, in addition to all of the other unconditional support she's given me, has made all of the difference. I wouldn't be on stage without the help of my prep coach, Jeff Alberts, as well. He's provided the ever-evolving game plan of this prep since beginning it back in June 2025. My entire 2023 competition prep was coached by Jeff too, and I received his guidance throughout my improvement season, which was in between the two preps as well. At this point, he's been helping me for 3.5 years, going on 4 years. If he wasn't there to create and modify my prep plan, in addition to perhaps more importantly coaching me through my anxieties and worries throughout the prep, then my head probably would have spun and rolled off of my shoulders long before ever getting on stage. Having someone like him to receive coaching and guidance from, who's got decades worth of experience not only as a coach, but also as a world-class competitor himself, has given me clarity and confidence to take steps forward every day, week, and month of this prep. On top of everything that I've mentioned, I think that as far as my personality goes, one of the greatest benefits of receiving Jeff's help is the relatability that he provides in having an understanding of just what it's like being this deep in a prep or being in any stage of a prep, since he's been through so many himself. But not only that, but also knowing when to push me and how to push me to get me out of my comfort zone enough to get me closer to reaching my potential. Really, up until this prep, as far as my natural bodybuilding goes, I would have been very reluctant to internally or externally recognize or mention that my ability to progress was not done on my own. That it's not just all a noble solo endeavor that I can take full credit for having accomplished on my own. I can say wholeheartedly that if it wasn't for those two people, I would not be where I am right now, which is on stage. Or at the very least, I wouldn't be in one fully intact piece anyways. And that's the lesson. That's the stark realization. I've learned that in order to do well, I've needed to remove that layer of pride, that egocentric wall of thinking, I'm doing this thing all on my own. Learning to adopt humility, ask for help, and be open to receiving it is where the real magic happens. It really does boil down to humility, I think. That's what I've learned. And then from there, being grateful for the people and all of the help that you get along the way. The second stark realization I've made throughout the course of this prep is one that might be a bit surprising. It might actually sound completely counterintuitive. Here it is. Prep should not be held at the center of my life. This might sound strange. And you might find yourself thinking that I ought to be saying the exact opposite thing, especially considering that I am doing this prep. I am competing with my sights set on winning. I'm not doing it in an attempt to come fourth, third, or even second. I'm competitive and I want to win. That being so, with my sights set on winning, you might think that prep should be held at the very center of my life. That it should be what my psyche revolves around. Shoot, that's definitely what I thought, even if I kind of told myself something different, right up until this prep anyways. I've learned that there's a problem with holding prep at the absolute center of my life. Prep is something that I now understand no matter how much I focus on it, how much I thrive in it, no matter how well I do in the competitions that come after it, it won't fully satisfy the thing that I want to be fully satisfied. I'm talking about filling that ultra deep void inside. You know, the one that we all have, whether we realize it or not, where we try to find meaning, joy, satisfaction, or ultimately happiness. Over the course of a lot of learning, I now know that that ultra deep void or that God-shaped hole can only be filled by one thing. And from how I've just described it, you can guess as to what I'm alluding to that one thing is. As such, my natural bodybuilding and my prep ought not to be used in an attempt to fill that void. Now, don't get me wrong here. In saying that, natural bodybuilding is still a central pillar in my life. And although it's not at the very center, it is, from a logistical standpoint, what my days really revolve around. I think of the prep, however, as an important part of my life. Something that I think I'm meant to be doing and something that I think is important for me to be doing. As of now, though, I know that it ought not to be considered everything. No, there's something infinitely more important to fill that void, as that void can only be filled by the infinite thing of which I'm referring. Now, I know this might sound kind of woo-woo to some of you, but I want you to know that it comes with some major practical benefits. By prep not being at the absolute center of my life, I can more easily let go of and stop worrying about the things that are not in my control. I can put less unnecessary pressure on myself. I can experience less anxiety overall. I can always, and I mean always, fall back on the true center of my life and trust and surrender to that. I can know that whatever happens as an outcome of my prep, how do I do on stage today? That as long as I have done everything that I can that's within my limited control and humbly receive the help that I've been given, then I can simply trust and surrender to the fact that whatever happens is meant to happen. And that is invaluable. It gives me peace. Although some might look at this way of thinking as being soft or not hardcore enough for someone who actually wants to win, I found that it's a way of aligning myself to actually maximize the probability that I'll win, or at least do as well that I possibly can, not the opposite. And there you have it. The two most profound and important lessons or stark realizations I've made across this long prep, both of which revolve around humility. Knowing that I couldn't have done well alone, and that credit should be shared for all those who have helped me along the way. And that prep should not be used as an attempt to fill the God-shaped hole at the center of my being. I suppose that ought to be really the theme of this prep, humility. I do want to make a point of mentioning that I am still very much a work of progress as far as all of this goes. It's not easy breaking down the walls of ego that have been reinforced by years of prideful thinking. But I wanted to share it all with you now nonetheless, and hope that you found it helpful. At this point, I would love to know your feedback. Let me know all of your thoughts, insights, and comments in the comment section below. And if you're interested to see how my competition actually went today, make sure to keep an eye out for a future video on this channel where I will share exactly how it all went. You can even consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notifications button to make sure that you're notified when it goes live. You can also follow me on my Instagram account where I will no doubt be providing updates. My Instagram profile is @JadeAthletics. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.